Coming up, a university division shuts its doors.
And University of Iowa students gear up for spring break.
A look into a Hawkeye with a looming legacy.
A roller coaster of temperatures. I'll have your full forecast in weather.
All that and more
coming up right now on DITV.
Good morning from Iowa City. It is Friday, March 14th. I'm Isabel Thier.
And I'm Ryan Lynch.
And Ryan, I have been loving the warm weather. Yesterday, I was outside in shorts and a t-shirt.
Yeah, I was as well. It was just great weather to have. These warmer temperatures are so much better than it was in February.
Yeah.
And so now we'll send it out to Kayla Smith for today's weather.
Well, guys, we've got some typical Iowa weather headed our way. I'm here at the Pentacrest, but it's currently about 56 degrees and absolutely beautifully sunny out. Now, looking out onto the Pentacrest, we're expecting some teases of summer, where the high will reach the low 80s with some winds. Tonight, we'll see those winds continue with some strong thunderstorms. Now, Saturday is going to drop us down massively with a high in the low 50s before dropping even lower at night to the mid-20s. Now, guys, we know how Iowa weather absolutely loves to keep us on our toes, so I'll have the rest of the week's forecast later on. But for now, let's check back in with the studio.
The University of Iowa announced its decision to close the Division of Access, Opportunity, and Diversity.
DITV's Jake Rios is live inside the University Capitol Center, who has the details of the university's decision.
Thanks, guys. And yeah, you're absolutely right. The Division of Access, Opportunity, and Diversity is set to close its doors by March 27th. The decision was made by the Iowa Board of Regents following a new law and state regulations that have revoked DEI offices in schools statewide. As a result, 3 employees will be laid off, and it adds to a total of 12 full-time positions to be eliminated by the Iowa Board of Regents or state law. Despite the closing, university students or employees seeking services can access student care and assistance, university counseling service, employee assistance program, and other various student programs. Students are encouraged to contact the Office of Civil Rights Compliance in the case that they have any issues with employment. Now back to you guys in the studio.
An Iowa City man has been found guilty of having sexual relations with a minor. Former Iowa City paraprofessional Joe Munzila is charged with a Class D felony of having sexual exploitation of a minor. He was caught giving her instructions to leave school early and would bring her to his house. Munzila is looking to serve up to 5 years in prison. The Iowa House has been busy with some new updates.
We're going to send it to DITV's Annika Perez, who's live in the newsroom with the story.
Thanks, guys. Let's get straight into today's Iowa's legislative news. A new Iowa House bill is requiring 80% of medical students from the university to have state ties. This bill would limit the amount of state admissions to the university due to alumni leaving the state after school. The bill's sponsor, Ann Meyer, says that in the past 4 years, 81% of Iowa natives left the state to practice medicine. She would like to limit this fallout by limiting the amount of out-of-state students. Her bill also gives Iowa natives priority over other applicants. Another interesting adaptation is that tax cuts are going to go into full effect next year. The state will have to dip into reserve funds to fund the government's budget. Our state revenue is estimated to decrease by $640 million between fiscal 2025 and fiscal 2026. This decrease comes amid economic uncertainty within Iowa due to persistent pressures. This could potentially lead to trade wars, which would strain household budgets and lead to higher prices for goods and services. Leading into a Midwest visit, former vice presidential candidate and Minnesota Governor Tim Walz is heading to Des Moines this afternoon. Walz's visit is a battle against Midwest Republicans. Walz is combating against 3rd District Republican Zach Nunn, who is currently not holding any events. The National Congressional Committee advised Republicans to stop holding public in-person town hall events. This stop in Iowa is the first of many in a tour of hotly contested Republican-held districts. Moving away from the Midwest and into national news, the government has until tonight to pass a new federal spending budget to prevent a shutdown. DITV's news director Johnny Valtman has a progress coming up on Capitol Hill.
Constant battling on Capitol Hill now leaves the Senate until midnight tonight to pass a spending deal. Finger pointing continually comes from both sides as Republicans, including Donald Trump, are promising the budget's benefits of tax breaks and others would benefit the American people.
There's a shutdown, it's only because of the Democrats, and they would really be taking away a lot from our country and from the people of our country.
Democrats are on a seesaw, fearing the budget could give too much power to the White House on spending decisions. Others, though, fear that a shutdown could see President Trump continue to make cuts to the federal workforce.
I believe it is my job to make the best choice for the country, to minimize the harms to the American people.
Skeptical Senate members are considering voting for a 30-day continued resolution to keep the government open and continue figuring out the budget.
That will allow all sides to come together to work out a budget that works for all people rather than just the billionaire class.
And to avoid a government shutdown, the lucky number is 60. Even though Republicans do have a majority in the Senate, they are going to need some bipartisan help from the Democrats. Chuck Schumer, the Senate leadership there, he already said that he will help out to avoid a government shutdown. They're voting on it later this morning. From the University of Iowa, Johnny Valtman, DITV.
The University of Iowa Healthcare's downtown campus has started to use new technology that ensures the safety for newborns. Each newborn baby has a digital footprint taken of their feet, which is then connected to their mom's fingerprint. The technology then gives the baby a digital footprint that lists the baby's height, weight, and time of birth. The hospital was the first in the state of Iowa to use this new technology. It's spring break and we've been graced with some beautiful weather. But it's the Midwest, and we're not clear of the ice and snow yet, and Iowa City has a couple of little helpers to manage the winter conditions. One of them, you're tracking through your homes. Though annoying to clean up, sand helps with traction on sidewalks and roads.
Anything that is warmer than 15 degrees, we use straight salt. It works the best. And then when it gets colder, like 15 degrees or getting colder, we will go to a sand-salt mix.
Salt is ineffective below 15 degrees and actually makes it slicker to walk on. Iowa City Public Works uses a sand-salt mixture to fight the falling freeze in these low temperatures. The sand helps keep you on your feet and your vehicles in control.
Last September, the U.S. News and World Report ranked the University of Iowa's Bachelor of Science in Nursing program 4th best in the nation. DITV's Nick Isles has the story on what makes the school so prestigious among others in the clinical world.
The University of Iowa's College of Nursing program is recognized as one of the best in the country, preparing the next generation of healthcare workers with hands-on experience in a variety of ways.
From clinical simulations to research programs and other networking opportunities involving hospitals in the area, the College of Nursing and its staff provide students with plenty of resources.
The major itself, just the teachers want you to succeed and be a good healthcare worker.
Informatics have played a prominent role in student learning at the university, which involves the use of technology and data for the healthcare of patients.
It's great to be at institutions like the University of Iowa Healthcare because as that technology is evolving there, our students are exposed to that in real time, and then we bring that into our simulated learning.
Programs and curriculum sponsored by the college are designed to guide students into leadership roles, allowing them to become more reliant on themselves in the field.
We activate the curriculum in ways that students can show gradual independence too, so the ability to have internships that are outside of their curriculum.
However, the roots of the college lie in the hands of the staff, as they are the ones who help students network and develop their clinical skills for the professional level.
Oftentimes, when you ask the students, who made a difference in your day today or who made a difference in your experience at the College of Nursing, they are talking about the staff.
That it's a great nursing school, honestly. Even though I'm only the second semester in, I love it.
College of Nursing is also in the process of working with the university in order to expand its simulation space, giving even more students the opportunity to learn and make an impact later in their healthcare careers. From just outside the College of Nursing building, Nick Isles, DITV.
Springtime is finally here. Midterms are over and it's time for a break from campus. DITV's Liz Schultz takes a closer look at where students are traveling and spending the week off from their classes.
Flights, road trips, or a staycation. Spring break is one of the busiest travel times of year where many University of Iowa students travel all across the nation.
Going to Tampa and I'm flying down there. I'm going to visit my buddy who goes to the University of Tampa.
For those flying for their trip, the Eastern Iowa Airport is a popular spot for direct flights or layaways. Airport Director Marty Lenz says spring break is the busiest travel time of year for them.
Spring break for us is our #1 travel time of the year. It outpaces Thanksgiving, the Christmas holidays. It's all about spring break.
Many students start their preparation months in advance, including navigating flights and budgeting, purchasing warmer clothing, and additional shopping for their trips.
So we've been planning this trip since December. I'm going to New York with just me and my parents. One thing we really did was like plane tickets, so we are an avid Southwest family, so we always use points whenever we go on vacation, so that was very nice.
For students this year, Florida is a top destination spot over break.
I'm going to Orlando, Florida. We're flying there and we're going to be there for about 5 days.
Whether staying home or traveling, there are endless spring break options. Students are ready to recharge during the week off and will return to campus on March 24th. After this week, students will pack their bags, board their flights, and begin their spring break endeavors. From the Eastern Iowa Airport, Liz Schultz, DITV.
Coming up, a look at the Hawkeye men's basketball team's path through the Big Ten tournament, a women's basketball player with a legacy to live up to, and more coming up after the break.
In Iowa City, history is being made every day, and DITV is capturing it all. The future of our nation.
I'm here at Big Grove Brewery, where the Johnson County Democratic Party is hosting one of many
Wisconsin, which has been an influential county in American election history.
In Las Vegas, Nevada, where a few hours from now polls are going.
Historic careers.
And despite the slow start, the Hawkeyes still managed to get their first win of the season.
Disappointing night on the West Coast for the Iowa Hawkeyes, not just because of the loss. Iowa defensively, they played a full 4 quarters, but offensively.
Student experiences.
I'm at the Ped Mall in downtown Iowa City, the center for nightlife.
I'm here at the Ped Mall, where Iowa City residents come downtown to celebrate a beloved Hawkeye tradition.
The Iowa City Animal Care and Adoption Center, where volunteers are working round the clock to get these animals adopted.
Politics, sports, and art. Local, state, and nationwide. In front of the camera, behind the scenes, DITV.
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 DITV. DITV Sports.
DITV
is capturing history.
Welcome back, and thank you for tuning in on thedailyiowan.com or listening on KRUI 89.7 FM.
Now let's send it back out to Kayla, who's got a look at some potential dangerous weather.
Well, guys, unfortunately, we're going to be seeing some severe weather headed in tonight. There's going to be some strong thunderstorms that are going to be beginning this evening at 7. Now, the storms are going to be quick, racing from western Iowa to here in Iowa City at a speed of 50 to 60 miles per hour. Now, the chances of tornadoes are staying lower than one might think, though, as the air is expected to be drier than tornado formation, but it's not impossible. The main threat is going to be the damaging winds that will continue throughout the entire day, as well as a possibility of some hail. Now, guys, it might be smart to stay at home tonight and use some extra caution, but for now, let's go ahead and send it back to the studio.
And Ryan, I know this weather's got me on the edge of my seat tonight, but you know what else had me on the edge of my seat? The men's basketball tournament.
Yeah, with the Big Ten championship and all the other conferences going on right now, we'll send it over to DITV Sports Director Brady Barron for some Hawkeye sports.
That's right, guys. It's an absolutely great time of year, but last night the Hawkeye men's basketball team's Big Ten tournament run did come to an end with a loss to the Illinois Fighting Illini. DITV's Colin Crithers has a look at the Hawks' loss.
A devastating scene would be left in Iowa's locker room after they lost to Illinois 106-94 in the second round of the Big Ten tournament. It seemed as if neither team could miss a shot in the first half on the lunar eclipse night, as Illinois led 49-45 at halftime. But with just over 13 minutes left in the game and Iowa trailing by 9, head coach Fran McCaffrey would receive a quick ejection.
I think I might have pointed out the foul discrepancy. I didn't think that was that egregious.
The team would not be able to recover, leading to an emotional scene post-game. The team leaned on Peyton Sanford, willing them into this game as he was 1 3-point shot away for the tournament record for most in a single game, as he finished with 8 threes and 30 points. He left everything he had out on the floor, which was acknowledged as he checked out for the final time by former teammates on the app X. However, it may be more notable to Peyton. This was a potential special ending with younger brother Price Sanford. The two played together in high school and now 2 seasons in the Big Ten. But as they walk off the court, it could be their last time together as teammates.
It's the honor of a lifetime, and getting to see him and That's one of the hardest things. Knowing that's over.
Now the future is still a little uncertain for this team, as Fran McCaffrey shared. He'd be inclined to join the Crown, a new postseason tournament, if the team got the invite. From the Big Ten tournament at Gamebridge Fieldhouse, Colin Carruthers, DITV Sports.
The Hawkeye women's basketball team is set to play in the 2025 Champions Classic. The Hawks will run it back with the same three teams in UConn, Louisville, and Tennessee. In the first edition of the tournament, Tennessee beat Iowa 78-68, but this time around the Hawks will tip things off against the UConn Huskies. The game will take place on December 20th in New York City. But right now the team is currently waiting for Selection Sunday to see where they'll play in the NCAA tournament, and the freshman class has played a large role in the Hawks' return to the Big Dance. DITV's Ryan Paris has a look at one of those key freshmen.
In the post-Caitlin Clark world, the Iowa women's basketball team is looking to establish the future of the program. That hope falls on an exciting class of freshmen that includes point guard Aaliyah Guyton. Guyton leads all freshmen in Iowa this season with 16.1 minutes per game and 4.9 points per game. She regularly comes off the bench and runs the offense for the Hawks, but there's more to her story than just how she plays on game day. Guyton carries a family legacy with her on the court every time she takes the floor. Guyton grew up traveling, as her mother Adriana played for the Brazilian national team in 5 Olympic Games, for the Phoenix Mercury, and overseas.
I first moved to Russia when I was 1. My mom was playing, and then from then on we were just going from like country to country, place to place, and I was just always in the gym with my mom.
And Guyton's father AJ set program records as a 4-year starter at Indiana and was drafted by the Chicago Bulls at the top of the 2nd round in the 2000 NBA draft. He played in the NBA and then also overseas before coming back home to coach collegiate basketball.
My dad finally had a conversation with me in 6th grade about, working towards something and getting something out of basketball, which would be going to college and getting an education.
Guyton realized those dreams and has become a vocal leader for the Hawks as a true freshman.
As a competitor, it's the next one. Okay, we miss it, we got to get that stop. I think Aaliyah is wise beyond her years with that.
Guyton has laid the foundation for a successful career here in the Iowa basketball program and will only continue to grow from here. From Carver Hawkeye Arena, Ryan Paris, DITV Sports.
Moving over to the Diamond, the softball team gave new acting head coach Carl Golan his first wins of the year in their home opener with a doubleheader W against the St. Thomas Tommies on Wednesday. In Game 1, the Tommies struck first, but pitcher Jalen Adams took over, striking out 10 batters on the Hawks' way to a 3-1 win. Then in Game 2, neither team was able to get on the board in regulation, with pitcher Talia Tretton tying a career-high 9 strikeouts, but Tatiana Roman brought Avery Jackson home on a walk-off RBI in the 8th inning to win the game 1-0. Next up, Iowa will play their first Big Ten matchup on the road against Indiana this weekend. And the Iowa baseball team battles the Michigan State Spartans this weekend in the Hawks' first home series of the season. Michigan State comes to town with a 12-4 record after losing 11-7 to Michigan on Wednesday, and has lost their last 2 games after starting 12-2. Iowa's 8-7 after crushing Augustana 16-1 and have scored 59 runs in their last 5 games. Each game in the series will be streamed on Big Ten Plus. And the women's wrestling team brought home some new awards this week. 180-pound NCWWC national champion Kylie Welker won USA Wrestling Athlete of the Week after her championship performance. She went a perfect 27-0 this year on her way to her national title. She, along with 10 other Hawkeyes, were also named NWCA Scholar All-Americans. Welker joined Emily Gonzalez and Ava Bayless as 2-time honorees. The NWCA gives the honor to athletes who finished in the top 8 with a 3.0 GPA, competed in 15 or more matches with 3.5 GPA, or qualified for nationals with a 3.2 GPA. We're going to go back out to DITV's Kayla Smith for the 5-week forecast.
We've got some ups and downs coming up this next week, so let's get into it. On Sunday, the temperatures got us in the high 40s during the day and the low 30s at night. Monday's going to send us back to those spring temps with a high in the high 60s and a low in the high 40s. Tuesday's going to be beautiful with a high in the high 70s. And of course, Iowa can never stay consistent, as on Wednesday, the temperature is going to drop down to the mid-50s with some rain showers that could turn into snow at night. Thursday has us dropping down even further to the low 40s and then the high 20s at night. You know, guys, I'm very grateful to get out of this Iowa weather and back to Tennessee warmth for spring break. But let's check back in with the studio.
Thank you for joining us online or listening on KRUY 89.7 FM.
We are here live from Iowa City every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 8:30 a.m. and online anytime at dailyiowan.com. For Jake Rios and Annika Perez, I'm Ryan Lynch.
And for Kayla Smith and Brady Barron, I'm Isabel Thier. DITV will be on spring break next week, so we'll be back on Monday, March 24th. But stay tuned for our entertainment segment, Word on the Street, after this short break.
Coming up, a recap of the Oscar Awards.
And a Broadway spectacular takes the Hampshire stage. Welcome back to another episode of Word on the Street. I'm Grace Lathrop.
And I'm Hannah Lipsky, and we've got a super exciting show for you today.
That's right, Hannah. I got to see an incredible performance at Hampshire this past weekend, and not to mention, we've got a lot of Oscar updates to go over.
Oh, that's right. So with that being said, sit back, relax,
and here's the Word on the Street.
So we've got a lot to talk about with the Oscars that just aired. So first of all, let's start by talking about Cynthia and Ariana's performance of Defying Gravity.
I absolutely loved it. I thought that was like the showstopper of the entire award ceremony. And what a great way to just kind of cap off this amazing chemistry that they had on screen.
And I love that they both got to do a little solo part and then came together to do the final part of Defying Gravity. And I saw a lot on social media about how when Ariana stepped back and had that one shot of like her just like beaming at Cynthia, it was a tribute to the Tony Awards when Kristen Chenoweth did that for Idina Menzel. So it was just a really cute moment.
It was really sweet, and I know I for sure loved just watching them shine on stage.
100%.
But we've got a lot of films taking home awards from the Oscars, and the biggest win of the night went to Anora and not Amelia Perez, which was kind of surprising considering they swept at the Golden Globes.
Yeah, very, very unexpected. This is a bit of a shock considering Anora was the underdog of award season. It did win a lot of smaller awards at some of the other festivals, but not a single Golden Globe.
Yeah, and Anora is about a young woman from Brooklyn who falls in love with an oligarch but then her parents find out about it and they're really quick to want to ruin it and just disregard the marriage completely.
Definitely.
And Anora, like we said, took home 5 out of the 6 Oscars it was nominated for, including Best Picture, Directing, Original Screenplay, and Film Editing, all going to director, producer, and writer Sean Baker. Baker has made dozens of small indie films. This is his claim to fame, though. Anora kind of swept or came out of nowhere, and that's such a great thing for these smaller films. And
definitely,
it received 93% rating on Rotten Tomatoes, but ironically, the viewer ratings were mixed. Some argued that it was a little long and there were some unnecessary sexual scenes thrown in here and there that didn't really contribute to the plot a whole lot, but it definitely was the underdog of award season with only $16 million budget versus the top runners like Dune Part 2 and Wicked with over $100 million each in their budgets. So it's just super impressive, and I love to see it.
And leading actress went to Mikey Madison for Anora as well. And it's really well deserved since it was the big winner of the night, and this was her first lead role in a major film, and it's really impressive. And I did not know who she was when I saw she won the award. I was like, I just did a quick Google, and I saw that she was actually in the latest Scream movie that starred Jenna Ortega, and she played the best friend and had the whole plot twist thing at the end, and she did phenomenal in that. So I was like, okay, makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, she's done a lot of smaller roles, but this, like you said, was her first main role, and she won. So it's really impressive, and hats off to her, and I'm sure we're going to see her in a lot of other movies and films coming up.
Yeah, and she won over the anticipated winner and industry legend Demi Moore, which I know a lot of people had a lot of opinions about, considering Demi won the Golden Globe for The Substance for leading actress. And usually the Golden Globes kind of predict the Oscars, but this year was very skewed, and I don't know exactly what happened, but it was just, very different.
Yeah, I actually kind of liked that, though, because I feel like it's just kind of predictable when one just leads to the other. But, you know, I was kind of rooting for some other things that we saw that they won some awards at the Oscars opposed to the Golden Globes. So, I mean, Demi Moore is wonderful, and she's a legend, but it's just really nice to see these younger actresses who aren't in as much or don't have their name out quite as much yet get these awards. And the best animated feature film went to DreamWorks animation studio Flow, beating out big studios like Disney, Pixar, and with movies like Inside Out 2. And DreamWorks released Wild Robot, which was also in this category as well, along with Wallace and Gromit, which was also super popular. So it's just, again, these smaller industry films really popping out, which is just fantastic if you ask me.
And surprising everyone, but the best adapted screenplay, which means from a book or a play or another written text, went to Peter Strahan in Conclave, this was pretty much the only award they won at the Oscars, which is a little bit surprising for some people, but yeah. And Best Visual Effects, to no surprise, went to Dune Part 2. And Cinematography went to The Brutalists, Lowell Crawley. And I wanted to say a little bit about what cinematography is, because I don't think it gets enough recognition, because cinematography is one of the biggest parts of a film. The director or the cinematographer works right under the director, who is focused on the bigger picture, on connecting everything together. But the cinematographer's job is focused on the overall visual aspect and how it looks on the screen. So this is the camera and the lighting and how all of these go together and make the big picture at the end.
Yeah, and I think it's really interesting is it's such a tedious task and such an important role that doesn't always get quite as much recognition as some of the other roles, but it's super, super important, and not everyone can do it. It takes a lot of talent and a lot of practice, and I mean, yeah, it's hats off to The Brutalist. I know that show also won Best Original Score, and the Best Original Song went to Amelia Perez for the song El Mal, which they only won 2 awards out of the total 13 they were nominated for at the Oscars, which was a complete 180 for the Golden Globes, where they literally won everything. But I have not seen Amelia Perez, but only because I have heard it is very bad, and I just don't have any desire to watch it, and that's why I haven't heard great reviews from anyone about it.
And we'll talk about some of the controversy surrounding the Amelia Perez cast a little bit later. But moving on to some of the actors, Adrien Brody won Best Actor for The Brutalist, and this movie has gotten a lot of backlash after it was released that AI was actually used to write parts of it. And I know this is kind of a controversial topic right now because, you know, with all the protests with SAG-AFTRA, most of the protests were about AI being used for writing and for actors' voices and for background actors. So that's surprising that this was allowed and that they were kind of, you know, told us about it, because that was a big part of the protest, was trying to get rid of AI.
Yeah, I kind of have mixed feelings about this whole AI topic in screenwriting. I know when we had the opportunity to talk to some professors who are screenwriters here at the university, they are very anti-usage of AI because their main argument is that it takes away from creativity. And I 100% agree. However, we're just taught so much now that it's a tool, and we have it right at our fingertips. So it's almost like, if it's right there, why not use it? But in a creative setting, it just takes away, and it takes away the credit from these people that have worked so hard to perfect this film or something, you know, anything, a television show, anything. And AI, while it knows everything, it lacks creativity through and through. And so, you know, it's just kind of surprising. I don't know how much The Brutalist used it in total, you know, which I can't imagine that AI wrote the entire script, but it is kind of interesting that people do know it was used, and I know for sure now when I'm going to watch it, I'm going to see it in a little bit of a different light.
Definitely. Yeah.
And Adrien Brody, when he accepted his award, spoke for over 5 minutes during his acceptance speech, which is kind of crazy considering most of these last maybe 30 seconds.
That's just weird.
It was so weird.
Anyways, Zoe Saldana won Best Supporting Actress, which I have opinions about, obviously. But anyways, I'll yield. And obviously, Mikey Madison won Best Leading for Enora, and then Best Supporting Actor went to Kieran Culkin for A Real Pain, and he's done really well this season for these awards, but let's talk a little bit about his acceptance speech.
Kieran Culkin is an interesting fella. He went up and grabbed his award, and he explained that last award season, his wife told him that if he won an Oscar, she would give him another kid, and he mentioned this while on stage and was like, well, I guess guess that's happening now, and it was just so uncomfortable. I don't know.
Didn't he was also censored for his speech for swearing, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, so, and which happens sometimes with, you know, award shows, but it seemed like a pretty long blip of time for him to be.
It was just so uncomfortable for everyone. And I was reading articles, and the press is saying it was just so awkward and took away from his big moment. It totally just like.